The Disturbing Movies Iceberg went viral in 2021 after it was posted on Reddit. It quickly gained notoriety due to the fact that most people had not heard of any films below Tier 2. Content about the iceberg exploded, with several high-profile content creators gaining millions of views breaking down each tier. However, along with the iceberg's popularity, also came a lot of misinformation. Most importantly, several content creators and even OP themselves referred to the films in Tier 8 as being illegal. As this was called out, apologies were made, and the original post was edited. However, many still wrongfully believe the films in this tier to be illegal, so I am here to break down and review every film in Tier 8, what it contains, where you might be able to find it, and whether or not I'd recommend watching it. I don't believe there has been a full breakdown of Tier 8 specifically that goes into depths of the contents of each film. So I'm excited to share the depravity of the internet with whomever wishes to watch this video. And without further ado, here is my review of all the films in Tier 8 of the Disturbing Movies Iceberg. So the first film on Tier 8 is Emos sexuae de cavalo, I think. And this translates to the sexual emotions of a horse. And this movie, I had no idea what this movie was coming into this video. It's the only movie in this tier that I hadn't heard of at all. So I had to go digging for this one through like some weird Reddit links and like shady websites. Eventually I found it, and it was an hour and a half, and it's just a Brazilian porn from 1986. The movie does have an IMDb page, which helped me like understand the plot a little bit because there's no English subtitles. But I think the movie's about like a guy with HIV who like goes around like giving other people HIV. But I mean, the movie doesn't really have much of a plot. It's just lots of sex. People have sex in the woods, people have sex in a bedroom, people have sex in a club. It's lots of sex. But you're probably wondering if this movie's just like a porn, why is it in Tier 8? And the reason it's in Tier 8 has to do with bestiality. So if we look at the name of this movie, it's kind of obvious that there's going to be something with a horse in this movie. And in one of the last scenes in the film, there's like an orgy and three people are pleasuring a horse. They're giving a horse, a blowjob. And it's very graphic. You see everything. And it's a long scene too, and the horse ejaculates and it gets everywhere. And I mean, I'm kind of confused why this movie is in Tier 8, because compared to some of the other films in Tier 7, like the Japanese fetish films like Genki Genki or Guso Milk, this is a little bit tame compared to that. Like, this is just like watching like Mr. Hands, So, don't really understand why it's this low, like in the last tier. But I mean, it is still like shocking, it's still, nasty. But just like, probably should have been like a few tiers up. Now, would I recommend watching this movie? If you're really like a completionist, like if you're really into like, if you're someone who is just really into vintage Brazilian bestiality porn, then this is the movie for you, and you're gonna love this. You're gonna have so much fun with this movie. But for everyone else, I think you can skip this movie. It's kind of fun. It has some goofy scenes, but unless you want to watch an hour and a half of people having sex in grainy footage and like speaking in Portuguese, this probably isn't the movie for you. But I do have to admit, the movie's not boring. It's definitely not boring. I would give it a 6 out of 10. This one's probably like the hardest to talk about, since there is so much about this film that we don't really know. And the problem with Snuff R73 is that the name can mean a lot of different things. So Snuff R73 is the name of a group who made like Gore mixtapes. It is also the name of several mixtapes. Some of those mixtapes may be lost. Some of those mixtapes have copycat versions. So if you go on the internet and you like ask around and you search for like Snuff R73, like you might find like 10 different films that are all called Snuff R73. However, the most common version of Snuff R73 is a 10-minute clip that is also called Necropedophiliac. Oh God. And so this movie very much deserves its spot in tier 8. It is very disturbing, but it is not illegal. In the Wendigoon video, as well as in the original Reddit post, OP says in the comments that this movie is illegal. But it's not. The movie isn't illegal. It looks like it'll be illegal because it's called Necropedophiliac, and the cover of the film is like a little boy who like went missing. So I understand why you might think it's gonna be like some sus shit, but it's not. It's still very gross and disturbing though. It's 10 minutes of dead children from the Syrian war, burnt bodies, missing limbs, smashed faces. And these are all very young children, you know, like, and it's very sad, very depressing. This movie isn't fun. It's not fun to watch. I mean, it's really short and it's really disturbing. It gets the point across, definitely. I mean, you have to respect that, like, the film, you know, it does what it is trying to do. It is disturbing. It belongs on this iceberg. It is rightfully placed in tier 8 of this iceberg. As a shock mixtape, it is shocking, and it does achieve its goal. So just for that, I would have to give this film like a 4 out of 10. Because, like, it's not fun to watch, but it is shocking indeed. So, fun fact, this is one of the few films on this list and in this tier that you can actually watch like right now for free on the Internet Archive. So, like, just like a little bit of a tangent, the Internet Archive has a bunch of like shockumentary and like gore mixtape playlists, and you can just like scroll through them and they have a bunch there. And this is one of those. So that's how I watched this. You can watch it and have so much fun. Isn't that great? And so this is the first movie on this list that is kind of like your standard gore and like shock content mixtape. There's, you know, mutilated bodies, there's animal abuse, scat and vomit porn, and all of this is to the tune of some sick heavy metal. What makes this movie in particular special is the soundtrack. There is just heavy metal over most of the clips in this movie, and you know, it really just adds to the vibe that you're watching some fucked up shit. And some of the most like notable clips in this mixtape include a man barbecuing his own penis. There's a camel that has its throat slit and then like writhes on the floor in its own blood. Pretty depressing shit. There is a lot of maggot infested body parts. I don't know, the person that made this movie was really into maggot infestations, because there is so much of that shit in this movie and it is fucking gross. There's dash cam footage of children being smashed by cars. A man gets crushed by a subway train. A man has a gigantic tumor in his testicles. And of course, this wouldn't be a gore mixtape without Brazilian scat porn. Later on in the film, there is also some necrophilia, but it's fake. I can tell it's fake because the genitals are pixelated, so you know it's like from like a Japanese like movie or something. And would I recommend this movie? It's long, as a lot of these mixtapes are, but this is like, it's a good mixtape, you know? Like, it has a shocking content, you know, it makes you cringe, and, you know, it kind of offsets the, you know, depressing stuff with the heavy metal, so it doesn't like make you feel like all sad, kind of like Snuff R73 does. Yeah, and I would recommend watching this movie. If you're into that kind of stuff, if, you know, you want to get shocked, This would be the movie for that, I think. I would give this like an 8 out of 10. I still think that it's too long. Yeah. MD Pope stands for Most Disturbed Person on Earth, and I am sure that this trilogy's creator, Thomas Cinnamagore, would love to think that that describes him. So this is another very classic mixtape, and it's also very easy to find. So I found all 3 of these movies on the website fedupfilms.com. They have a lot of like disturbing movies, and I think they've just started like adding more like shock and like gore mixtapes to them. So if you're into that stuff, definitely check it out. Next thing I want to say is that these movies are long. These movies are so fucking long. It was a pain in the ass to get through these just because of how long they are, and they are primarily made up of just like shocking porn. So there's like significantly less gore in these films than there are in some of the other ones that we're going to talk about later. So think of like scat, vomit, piss, a bunch of other weird shit. That's what you're going to find in MD Pope. There's also just like some random funny clips too, you know, to lighten up the mood in between, you know, the mutilation and the scat porn, you know, we need to laugh. So the first MD Pope is honestly kind of amazing. It's like, it's archival almost. It's like a greatest hits compilation of like early 2000s shock content, and you know, it has the classics, all the big ones, all the good ones, you know. It has Chomp AVI, One Man, One Jar, One Man, One Ice Pick, Two Girls, One Cup, and the very famous Mexican Chainsaw video. And the film has some other content as well from other films on previous tiers. The film has content from like Kuso Limitless on tier 7, Japanese scat porn. And for me, the most disturbing content in the MD Pope mixtape, the first one, was the amount of crushing like fetish content in this film. That was really disturbing for me. There's a lot of videos of like women wearing high heels crushing like small animals, and that's very upsetting. I don't enjoy that. I mean, I don't enjoy watching any of this, but that in particular was very disturbing. And but at the end of the day, I think that the first MD Pope is really interesting because it just shows you like what the fuck was going on the internet in the early 2000s. And yeah. So MD Pope 2 is just more of the same. Some of the standout videos, it includes the Smegma video from Run the Gauntlet, and for those who don't know, it is just a video of a girl eating a man's dick cheese, and it's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. I hate it, it's disgusting, and I did not expect to have to see that video ever again in my life, but I did for this video. That's probably gonna flop, so that sucks. But besides that, there's just more gore, bestiality, you know. Oh, of course, penile mutilation. Everyone loves that. So the third film in the trilogy is MD Pope 3, and this fucking movie is almost 4 hours long. I don't understand how one can watch this in one sitting. I don't know if I'm supposed to watch this in one sitting. I don't know. Thomas Cinnamagore, please explain to me. Do you expect me to sit down and watch penile mutilation and dash cam footage for 4 hours straight, please? So, unlike the first two, MD Pope 3 has a lot less porn in it and a lot more of your like gore kind of content. The most disturbing thing in this movie to me was there was a clip of a woman giving premature birth in a bathtub, and that's actually my first time ever seeing birth on camera, and that's fucked up. Like, that video was fucked up, and like the baby's blue. It's very shocking content. Other videos include penile mutilation, there's anal prolapses, cartel murders, there's a vagina just full of maggots. There's a video where a guy like jumps off a cliff into like water, and like his face splits open, and you see his split open face. It's just, yeah. There's also a very strange video of a woman shoving dirt into another woman's vagina, and then she like plants a radish inside the dirt, like in her vagina. It's very strange. I mean, I'm not gonna judge, you know, what anyone's into, but it was very strange, very shocking. The credits roll, and Thomas Cinema Gore individually thanks, you know, each of the crazy people that have appeared in these videos. He thanks all the people that mutilated their own genitals, you know, all the porn stars, all of the murder victims, everything. And it's very heartwarming, you know. So my final opinion on the MD Pope films is that you do not need to see all of these. Like, altogether, these movies are probably like 12 hours long, and you do not need to watch all of that. But if you're really interested in like the history of like internet shock content, the first one especially is really interesting because it has a lot of those classic, you know, fun for the whole family type films, very nostalgic. The rest, like, there's some good shocking content there, but it's really the first one that is like special to me. And overall, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I definitely think, like, if you're like interested in like the archival, in like archiving like shock content, the first one is really good at that, honestly. Definitely worth a watch, and you can watch it for free, so definitely give it a shot. So this mixtape is not nearly as cool as its name and DVD cover are. There are no munch fetuses in either film, and you can tell whoever made these is like super chronically online, because like a good chunk of the movies are just like really outdated like memes. And like, it's important to remember that like Fetus Munchers 2 came out in 2016. Like, these movies are barely a decade old, but if you watch them, like, you'd think that you time traveled back to like 2006. There's just a lot of like outdated, edgy humor, and there's not like a lot of real shocking content. This mixtape is also deeply unserious. Like, so much of the content is just like gross porn. There's a ton of movie clips and like goofy videos. Like, nothing here is like actually shocking, especially compared to what we've seen before. There's like a whole section in the first movie of just like racist jokes about like Michelle Obama, and I'm like, how is that shocking? Like, there is some gore, but like most of it is like from a movie. Like, they literally have movie clips in this mixtape, and there's a whole sequence in the movie that is just like anime gore. Like, they put anime gore in a gore mixtape. This shit is so lame. And the second one is just more of the same. There's some scat porn, and like there's some like shocking stuff, I guess. Like, there's like riots, and you see like a couple clips of like a dead body, but like the vast majority is still just goofy, unserious crap. And like, to be honest, I don't mind if like a gore mixtape doesn't take itself seriously. Like, MD Pope is kind of goofy, but like it still has to have a shocking like impact, and there is just no shocking content in this. Like, this is like band kid humor. It's very outdated, it's not funny, it's not entertaining, and it's kind of cringe. I give Fetus Munchers a 0 out of 10. Do not watch this shit. So this next one is Fubar, aka Fucked Up Beyond All Recognition. And this movie is also kind of hard to search up because there are tons of movies called Fubar, because it's like a common military abbreviation apparently. But I did find this movie, and it opens with a man ejaculating blood onto another man's face. Off to a strong start. And there's not really much special about this mixtape. It's kind of more of the same. There's scat porn. There's a lot of bullfighting accidents, car crashes, stuff like that. There's some suicides as well. That being said, one of my favorite clips to ever be included in a shock mixtape is in Fubar, and it is a man hitting a bong like on a woman's taint, like while he's ass fucking her, and I find that enjoyable. I find that pleasing. That was fun. I liked watching that clip. But my problem with this movie is that 10 minutes in, there's literally just a scene from Happy Tree Friends, you know, like the really gory cartoon show on Netflix. And I'm like, why? Again, with the fucking movie and cartoon clips in a Gore mixtape, it really just brings the overall quality down, you know, and ruins the whole vibe of the film, you know? You'll have like a really cool gore or like shocking video, and then it'll just be followed up with some goofy ass shit from Happy Tree Friends, and it's like, I can see this shit on Netflix right now. I can like go online and watch this easily. I don't need it to be compiled in a Gore mixtape. Like, it just takes all of the mystique and all of the shocking value away from this mixtape. That being said, like, as much corny shit is in Fubar, it does have some fun, shocking content, honestly. Like, in the movie, there's a G.G. Allin concert where he covers himself in shit, and I love that. I love G.G. Allin, and I just love watching his old concerts. I think it's fun. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's pleasing. And in addition to that, there's some weird needle porn, like people putting needles in their genitals, and like that's shocking. Yeah, that's cringy. I'm gonna look away. There's some weird shit of like mummies having sex. There's even a clip from Genki Genki, which is just like Japanese bestiality porn, of a girl having sex with an octopus. Like, she's putting the octopus up her vagina, and it happens. It is exactly what it is. In Fubar, there's also a clip from Orozco the Embalmer, which I mean, that's a good movie. You should check it out. And there's also a clip of a man with a humongous testicle that he sits on, and I thought that was pretty funny. So overall, Fubar doesn't contain a lot of gore, kind of like Fetus Munchers, but unlike Fetus Munchers, the shocking content in Fubar is actually pretty good. Like, it's pretty shocking stuff, even if it's mixed in with some goofy, corny crap. And, you know, I had to take off points for including Happy Tree Friends, because that's just like unacceptable in a Gore mixtape. If you have cartoon gore, if you have anime gore, get the fuck out. Like, points off for that automatically. But this gets like a 4 out of 10. Like, it could be fun, but like, you're probably better off watching like MD Pope or something else. But it's not like terrible. And like, if you're really into like the specific gore clips, there is some good shit here, even if some of it comes from other disturbing movies. So I would recommend, yeah. So back in the olden times of 2000, when the internet was just starting to pop off, a little website called Ogrish.com was created. And it was a shock and gore site, one of the first, and every year, the best of the content from the site was compiled into a mixtape. Luckily, you can watch them all yourselves very easily, because they are all available on the Internet Archive. You know, people talk about 4chan like it's the last bastion of free speech on the internet, when really it's Internet Archive. You can post anything there, it's crazy. So this mixtape, the first one, is almost 3 hours long, and it is exactly what you'd expect. Accidents, war footage, the aftermath of natural disasters, but this one's a little bit more unique. And it's a little bit more tame than the others. And I think that's most likely due to like its age. So since this was made in like 2000, a lot of the footage is really old and from the 80s and the 90s. So as a result, it is very grainy, and kind of vintage. There is some animal stuff, like animals being killed, animals killing each other, but just because of the low quality, you can't really see a lot. There's also some autopsy footage, some Columbine footage, and even penile mutilation, which is probably one of the more shocking things in this mixtape. But for the most part, it's grainy footage of like accidents and disasters. And I don't have a lot to say about this one. It's long, low quality. It's not particularly shocking or entertaining, but it is interesting as a time capsule of what this kind of content was like in the early internet. You know, it reminds me a lot of like Traces of Death and like other like super early mixtapes. And I'd recommend like watching this if you're a completionist, or if you're like really interested in like accidents and natural disasters of the 80s and 90s. It's interesting, but like for like a shock compilation, it's not like that fun. I'd give it like a 3 out of 10. So this is it. The last couple of films on the Disturbing Movies Iceberg. And for these, I took one look at the runtime and I almost shed a tear. Like, why are these so fucking long? 3.5 hours of porn and gore, and that is just volume 1. And one of the first scenes in this film is a man putting worms into his penis and then them coming out of his penis. I don't even know what to say. And volume 1 is just more of the same. There's a dude being yanked and thrown by a camel. And I thought that was pretty funny. I like that. I think I can actually show that clip on YouTube. And then there's like another clip that is like a recurring clip throughout some of these mixtapes. And it's a man like putting a bomb in his asshole and then setting that bomb off. And you can see all the shrapnel and blood coming out of his prolapsed anus, and he just plays with it. And it's really nasty. And that's that. There's more needles being injected into penises, which, as someone who has a penis, it is not very fun to watch. It's very cringy. And then there's more Japanese fish porn. There's a woman shoving a fish up her vagina. There's more vomit porn, someone being covered in worms and maggots. We have some suicides, executions, and it wouldn't be Porngore without maggots crawling inside of a penis. And then volume 2 is more of the same kind of depravity. Vaginas are being punctured by needles, penises are covered in bugs, there's scat, vomit, needles, all in the face. There's cartel decapitations, murders, lots of dead bodies, lots of blood, more executions, and poop. Lots and lots of poop. And I think the last clip in this film is very unique. It is a film of a woman taking a bloody tampon out of her vagina and then pooping. And then she mixes the blood and the poop together and fingers herself. And that's it. And, you know, I think that Porngore volumes 1 and 2, they're like an every man pleaser. It has a little bit of everything, you know. There's some scat, there's some vomit, there's some cartel murder, there's suicides, penile mutilation. It's very varied, you know. And Jesus Christ, they could have edited this down to like an hour and a half and it would have been just as entertaining. But, you know, this is definitely a solid mixtape. I would give this one a 7 out of 10. And yeah, I'd recommend watching this. There is some overlap with other mixtapes, but there's like enough original, fresh content to make it interesting, you know? So the final piece of media in the Disturbing Movies Iceberg is the MD Pope 2 trailer. For some reason, on the original post, it says MD Pope 1, but I believe it's referring to the MD Pope 2 trailer. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the reason that this is the lowest piece of media in the iceberg is because it flat out contains CP audio, which is technically legal in North America due to a legal loophole. And yeah, it's not on YouTube anymore because obviously Thomas Cinema Gore took it down, and this is the only piece of media on tier 8 that I haven't seen, and I haven't really looked for it for obvious reasons, and I can't rate it because I didn't see it. But if it's a trailer for MD Pope 2, I already gave my review, you know, of MD Pope 2. But yeah, makes sense that it is on the bottom of the iceberg. That is fucked up. So now that I've reviewed the entirety of tier 8 of the Disturbing Movies Iceberg, I just want to provide some information on how I found these films. So the first film I found, Emos, I found that through some Reddit links, but if you dig, you can find it. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to like link the place where I found it like here. I'm not sure if YouTube allows that, but it's not hard to find. If you just go searching, like if you look up like Emos Reddit, like you'll find it. It's not hard to find. And then Ogrish is on the Internet Archive. Registros Vitae is also on the Internet Archive, so those are really easy to look up. Just look up the name of the film followed by Internet Archive, and it's right there, and you can watch all of them. MD Pope 1 to 3 is on fdubfilms.com, I think. All 3, and you can watch them there for free. That's great. And then the others, like Fubar, Porngore, and Fetus munchers, as well as Snuff R73. Those are a little bit harder to find like on the internet. If you go on Reddit, there's people selling mixtapes, and if you go on Instagram too, there's people selling them as well. Although, I mean, especially Fetus munchers is kind of shit. You probably don't want to spend money on that. But yeah, so that's how you watch all these movies, and so you can do that if you want to. So what did we learn from this? I guess what we learned from this is that if there is something awful and disgusting that you can think of, somebody else has probably already thought of it, and done it, and filmed it, and you can watch it right now on the internet for free with a 5-second Google search and have lots of fun. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you keep watching Gore and you keep making Gore so I have more videos to review. Yay!